Hello and welcome to Meet the Candidates here on WCMU. I'm David Nicholas and we are joined by Mark Bignell. He is the Democratic candidate for Michigan's 33rd Senate District. By trade, an over-the-road trucker, so we find him out of state as we tape this conversation today. But we thank you very much, Mark, for taking the time to be with us. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
In our first moment or two then, as you certainly have had the time leading up to the August primary and the days and weeks since now as we look towards the November election, meeting lots of folks, talking to lots of folks, but for those that have not had a chance to meet you yet, we give you that chance to tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, hometown, and the experience you bring to this campaign.
Well, as many people know, I was raised in Palo, Michigan. I'm from Greenville, born in Montcalm County. I'm an over-the-road truck driver that's experienced 1 million safe miles out here on the road. Currently at work, standing in South Carolina. The experience I bring to this campaign is a diverse experience from multiple professions. Logistics, obviously, with this blue-collar background. I graduated Grand Valley State University this year. I had experience in management, finance, economics, philosophy, and many other courses.
Well, as you have had the chance, as we noted, then talking to voters, to organizations, and appearing at public events as part of the campaign, if you share that message of the diverse background, talking with the voters, looking at the campaign as you've met these folks on your own, what would you say then, from the feedback of these potential voters in this 33rd Senate District, are the top 1, 2, maybe 3 issues that they see as the most vital, the most central to this campaign?
The economy is number one, absolutely number one. We have a very unstable economy, which emanates from basically the pandemic, where we have supply chains, shortages, labor shortages all across the state and the entire country. Then we have cost of living that's associated with that economy, where people just can't make their ends meet and sustain themselves. On top of that, you have the social issue of reproductive freedom that was snatched away by a facetious Supreme Court decision. And honestly, the fact many Michiganders can't even come close to fathoming obtaining their dreams in this economy. It all boils back to the economy and good domestic policy, which has been lacking in our state for more than 40 years. We need people-centered policy to meet the needs of the people that haven't been met for more than 40 years.
If we take that idea then on people-centered policy, as you say, the instability, the pandemic, obviously experienced not only by this state but across the country, and there is the role that the federal government has played in trying to lend assistance to states to deal with this. What do you see as the role that you would want to play should you be elected and go to Lansing, and the ideas that you would have for stabilizing that economy, bringing down the inflation, and addressing the concerns of the supply chain issues that we've had, some of those ideas that you specifically would want to put into action to help bring a sense of overall economic stability back to the state?
Well, the inflation is basically a product of unmet demand. We have supply chain shortages and labor shortages that basically create these sporadic bubbles of unmet demand all through our economy, and that drives up the prices. We need to build up domestic production inside Michigan, bring more businesses to Michigan and diversify our economy. So if there is a disruption, it won't be centered on basically one business trying to meet the demand of the entire country, as we've seen with the infant formula shortage because of the plant closure. On top of that, we need to meet the demands of labor in our public sector, where we have shortages of labor in nursing, teaching, social work, police, EMS, firefighters. We have so much unmet demand that it's basically hurting our entire economy. And what I would like to do is create bridges within the legislature so we can actually start solving these problems piece by piece, like expanding access to career training, the trades, and professional education. I would like to bring teachers to Lansing so we can solve the problems in education. I would like to look at the worldly models that have worked all throughout the world to meet and solve many of the very same problems that we have here in Michigan that have been solved elsewhere with very, very intuitive solutions.
If we look at you mentioned in particular the number of areas where we have a shortage of workers, and so we look back to where, if it's a population question, that's one thing in terms of the economic diversity of an area and how we address that, improve that to bring in investment for business and be able to maintain that. If along with that we have a question of a worker shortage, where do the voters tell you that shortfall is coming from? The lack of, or the knowledge of the existence of the training programs, the specific targeted training programs, or the basis in our K-12 school system in the district you hope to represent? Where do we find those shortages in terms of having the workforce available, people-wise, but also the training to fill those jobs?
Well, what I've been hearing from people in the district and the professionals involved in some of these professions, the administrators and lobbyists, I'm hearing that in nursing and teaching, and specifically, that there is an existing workforce that's taken themselves out of the workforce because of compensation, the ability to live while in those professions. They need increased salaries, and in specific, nurses need safer work environments, and they need legislation to help bolster and create those safer work environments with better regulations and nurse to patient ratios. In regards to general labor, there's shortages in town in just entry-level positions, and I'm getting the sense that those shortages are spurred on because people found better opportunities to move out of the entry-level fast food and into like manufacturing. So we have a broad spectrum of shortages of labor in our state, is what I'm getting from the voters and seeing firsthand.
Are there particular issues with the economic climate, whether we're talking about the amount of regulation for small businesses to get up and running, the permitting process, or the available infrastructure to make investment a worthwhile one for new businesses? In this district you hope to represent, do prospective voters and the business people tell you we have a need of, what would it be then in terms of being able to have that very attractive economic climate to get the investment, bring the businesses in, and be able to keep those businesses there?
What I'm hearing specifically is that we need an available workforce trained and capable of meeting the jobs that they want to bring. And the economically, our tax structure seems attractive to them, but I'm seeing that I'm hearing and seeing from them that the shortages of talent is a major impediment to whether or not they'll invest.
Then when we look back to that issue of the training or the available talent, are there issues you found within the communities of this 33rd Senate District that are making some of these areas less appealing for people to either come to or to stay there and become and develop a career, stay as part of the workforce? Are there specific things lacking in parts of this 33rd Senate District that you would want to address, that you would propose to address in Lansing to make it, along with the other parts of our state, but specifically this district, a place that people want to come, stay, and live and work?
Specifically, I'm hearing biosolids are a potential threat to the livelihood of farmers in the 33rd district, whether or not there's PFAS in the biosolids that are given to their farms for production, and they're worried about contaminated soil. I'm hearing from many people that the inclusivity of our district might be an impediment of whether or not people want to move here. Therefore, we need to address these social uprisings of school districts that are creating this negative image of the 33rd and each school district. And specifically, sorry.
No, I think you're getting to the point of how the climate, in terms of people, inclusivity, and the overall area itself is going to need attention to make it a more attractive place to live. But if we look at the economic issues you raised, the social issues, and this idea that you want to create a people-centered way, not only to potentially assist and govern, but also to bring that to the economy. If you had to bring all this down to one message for the voters that you would want to leave with them before they go to the polls, in our last 30 seconds, what would that final message be that you would want the voters to have?
That I hope to earn their vote, that I want their vote so I can help rebuild Michigan from the people up, so each and every one of us can fulfill the dreams of our hearts and build for a better future.
Well, we appreciate your time, being willing to talk to the issues that the voters are sharing with you and to speak directly to those prospective voters in the district you want to represent. Wish you best of luck the rest of the way on the campaign, and thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you for having me. It was a delight.
We've been speaking with Mark Bignell, the Democratic candidate for Michigan's 33rd Senate District. I'm David Nicholas, and we echo the sentiment of all that have appeared on this program. Here, Meet the Candidates. Get out and exercise your right to vote on Tuesday, November 8th. All qualifying candidates were invited to participate in this series. Following the redraw of Michigan House, Michigan Senate, and congressional districts, check with local officials to make sure you are properly registered. Election Day is Tuesday, November 8th.